Before the transatlantic slave trade dominated the world stage, there was the Zanj Rebellion, one of history's greatest slave revolts. It happened in 9th century Iraq and involved thousands of Africans held in bondage in the heart of the Abbasid Caliphate. These enslaved people, called the Zanj, fought not only for their freedom, but for a better world. So join us today as we explore the story of the Zanj Rebellion. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the craziest and most important moments from human history. Viewer discretion is advised for this episode, as some of this video may be offensive or disturbing. We, the makers of this video, in no way support or condone the actions of the subjects featured. Part 1. Introduction. Enslaved people of African descent had been living in Iraq for centuries, brought there through trade networks connecting Africa and the Middle East. In the early 9th century CE, these slaves, mainly from modern-day Tanzania, Mozambique and Madagascar, lived along the banks of the Euphrates River in southern Iraq. Their numbers ran into the thousands, toiling under the hot Iraqi sun in the service of Arab Muslim masters. Life was especially hard for the enslaved people known as the Zanj, who labored in the marshlands near the city of Basra. The Zanj were worked to death as they drained the marshes to make the land suitable for farming. What little food they grew was taxed heavily by the Abbasid authorities. And if they weren't careful, the Zanj risked further punishment. Enslaved workers could be sold away from their families, shackled to walls until they dropped dead, or simply thrown into the river to drown. Every day was filled with backbreaking labor and the constant threat of violence. To survive in such a brutal environment, the Zanj turned to each other for support. While they could not read or write, stories of hope passed from mouth to ear about a savior who would come to liberate them from their oppressors. Little did they know their hero was already among them. Part 2. The Spark. A man named Ali ibn Muhammad was born in Basra around 812 CE to an African mother and an Arab father. Though his father was free, Ali was born into slavery. Because of his heritage, he faced extreme prejudice from the Arab world and was denied many opportunities afforded to his peers. As a young man, he worked as a fisherman. But later, to escape his master's abuse, he fled to the marshlands. There he lived among the enslaved Zanj and witnessed their hopeless lives firsthand. After studying under Islamic scholars, Ali developed a strong religious faith and began preaching to the Zanj that a better life was possible, a life without chains and cruelty. He told them that God had chosen him to lead them to freedom. Though his message initially fell on deaf ears, as time passed, the Zanj became more receptive. And soon his teachings began to stir unrest against the Abbasid Caliphate, the ruling power in Iraq at the time. Ali gathered followers and trained them in secret, preparing them for what would soon become one of the bloodiest chapters in Islamic history. Part 3. Rebellion begins. In 869 CE, after 50 years of preparations, Ali ibn Muhammad led a group of rebels to attack several large estates owned by Arab nobles. The nobles' forces were caught off guard and could not stop the attackers. Within months, Ali's forces grew to include thousands of Zanj and poor Arab peasants, also burdened by heavy taxes. The rebels continued attacking government facilities and private estates, seizing weapons and supplies. As word of their victory spread, more and more people joined their ranks, and the Zanj rebels seized entire villages and garrisons. By 870 CE, they controlled much of southern Iraq. The rebels kept detailed records of their activities, which helped historians learn about this largely forgotten rebellion. According to their records, by 870 CE, the Zanj had taken the towns of Wasit, Kuli, Hurn, Moftis, Amara, and many others. Their momentum was unstoppable. It seemed as though every day brought news of another victory over the Caliphate's forces. But the Abbasid Caliphate was too powerful to fall so easily. Part 4. The Rise of a Rebel State. Over the next few years, the Zanj rebels established a state within a state. They built fortified camps for their armies and set up courts to administer justice. They even minted their own coins. At their peak, the Zanj controlled large parts of southern Iraq and fielded an army that numbered in the tens of thousands. For the moment, it seemed the Abbasid Caliphate might actually collapse under the weight of its own corruption and the growing tide of discontent among its people. But soon the Caliphate would counterattack. Part 5. The Abbasid Counterattack. When the full force of the Abbasid Caliphate came down on the Zanj, the rebels were not ready for it. At first, the Caliphate tried to appease the rebels by offering them limited rights and protections. But when that failed, The Abbasids sent out their generals to put down the rebellion once and for all. The first Abbasid army was defeated in the Battle of Ambith, but the following year, in 876 CE, another Abbasid force crushed the Zanj at the Battle of Samarra. Still, the Abbasid rulers thought that defeating a few rebel groups would end the rebellion. They underestimated Ali ibn Muhammad and his followers. The Zanj, refusing to back down, regrouped and launched new offensives. Over the next 7 years, they proved to be an even fiercer force to be reckoned with. Part 6. A bloody conflict. With the Zanj threatening Baghdad itself, the Abbasid Caliphate poured all its resources into crushing the rebellion. Seasoned generals like al-Mutawakkil and Abu al-Aswad al-Juli led elite troops into the field, turning the tide of war against the rebels. By 882 CE, the Abbasid army had captured most of Zanj territory. Ali ibn Muhammad and his brother were captured and killed in 883 CE, marking the official end of the rebellion. Those who did not flee to Persia and Central Asia were massacred. Entire villages were destroyed, and the Abbasids brutally suppressed any lingering resistance. Part 7. Legacy. Though the Abbasids won the war, it came at a cost. Thousands upon thousands of Muslims, Arabs and non-Muslims alike had died, and the rebellion exposed the weakness of the caliphate. In the years following the rebellion, the Abbasid Caliphate fragmented into smaller states and never regained its former power. Ali ibn Muhammad and the Zanj Rebellion have become legendary in oral histories, poems, and songs. Some Iraqis even celebrate the anniversary of the rebellion. Though the Zanj lost their war, their legacy lives on. The rebellion serves as a reminder that even the mightiest empires are vulnerable to those who dare to defy them. And it remains one of the largest slave revolts in world history. That's all for this episode, folks. Please remember to leave us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an upload. Thanks for watching.